Okay, hey everyone, it's Brendan Payne again, and today I've got John Senk, who is one of our agents, has been around for several years, and John's going to give some really good perspective on lead generation from the listing side. And so John, hey, thanks for getting on the call and sharing some of the stuff that you've experienced over the last few years.
Yep.
Let's bring those that are just tuning in now kind of up to speed. If you can just give me an idea of approximately how long you've been with the company and what you started out doing in the business, and then kind of what you've transitioned to now as being a full-time agent.
Okay, I started probably about 8-9 years ago, and originally what I did, I was just cold calling on Mojo at the time, and I called 50, 60, 70, 100 people a day, and then I would basically get referrals. I would hand them off to Jim Pittman, who was with Greg Harrelson, and they would follow up and get listings and that sort of thing.
Okay. So you were just, when you started, you were primarily just lead generation. You were the first step.
I was the first one on Mojo in our company.
Okay. And how many contacts were you making? Like, what was it? Did you have a goal?
At least 60 a day. If we did all day prospecting, I think one day I had 150 a day.
60 contacts, not
dials. Yes. No. 60, 75 a day. Yeah.
60 contacts a day. Okay. So there is, I would venture to say, with your time in the market, but for maybe 6 or 8 agents that are that have been around longer than you and were really doing a lot of prospecting, there probably are only a few people in this company that have actually had more prospecting conversations than you total. I think that's a fair assessment. You've had a ton of experience.
There's a good chance. I think I've probably spoke to more people than any one of our company's ever spoken to.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah. Okay, so you were doing that, and that was primarily because that's not that might be more of a unique position. What was the reason that you were doing that versus just coming in and being a licensed agent?
Well, it was kind of like when I started, it was kind of like that's how you had to learn the ropes. So you had to learn the scripts and that sort of thing. And then basically a lot of people start like that, and then they would move on to become their own agents.
Yeah.
At that point, I was just too scared because there's so many different things to have to learn we learned dot loop and like all that kind of stuff, all the Zillow, how to get a listing. Like I knew how to go through like a presentation, but I know actually once I got a listing signed, what do I even do with it? Like how do I get on the MLS? I had no idea.
Yeah. So you jumped in, said, all right, I can do this lead gen thing, got really good at that.
Yes. I could talk to anyone.
Yeah. I'm assuming that you have an idea of, even though you didn't go out and list them, you didn't service them, you have an idea of kind of what your production was. Do you have any idea kind of what deals
I don't know how many deals I had back then. I know what I've gotten since I've been on my own. I know what I've done.
Okay. So bring us up to that transition. So at some point in time,
I guess it was around November, I guess I went on my own. And since then, the first day I was actually officially my own agent, I had a appointment for someone. It was probably my first few phone calls a day. He said, yeah, I want to list. Come out and list my home. I was like, oh my God, what do I do? Like, I have no idea what to do. I had a list of everything I had to learn. Dot loop is on there, and I didn't learn that yet.
Yeah. So you went for 7, 8, 9 years just generating, handing them off, and
then
about 6 months ago or 5 months ago, you said, "All right, I'm going to make the transition. I'm going to go be an agent." And so now you're a full-time agent.
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. So tell me about because what you were doing before and what you're doing now. There won't be, at least in your morning routine, there shouldn't be, won't be, and can't be any major change in what your generating schedule looks like. So tell me, what is your generating schedule like right now? What does that look like?
I show up here probably about 7:30, and I do send out some emails in the morning. And as soon as 8 o'clock hits, I'm calling expires from 8 to 9.
Okay.
And from 9 to 10, I usually call follow-ups for follow-ups.
Yep.
And then, or if I don't have a whole lot to follow up on, I'll do an auto dollar from up till 11 o'clock.
Okay. Auto just meaning going through and doing just listed, just sold calls.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And so and I think it's a really important thing that the audience, people that are listening to this, understand, is that John started out purely generating leads,
Mm-hmm.
and he was handing them off. Just the circumstances
Yes.
where he was handing them off to his team leader. Now
Mm-hmm.
he's moved on to doing his own thing. He's his own agent, his own business owner, but nothing can change. So the critical part of what he does, regardless of where the leads go, is he's generating leads. And that's never going to change with
No.
you, right?
No.
Okay. So obviously, with that type of schedule and that type of commitment to it, you
Mm-hmm.
bought into the process of lead generation very, very early on.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's not easy to do that every single day, to come in and do that Why do you think you've been so successful with it?
It's just part of the job. It's what you got to do. And I always thought it was funny when I would call someone 9, 10 o'clock who's a local number and he tell me they're a real estate agent. And I'm like, what are you guys doing home? Like, why aren't you working? Like,
Right?
it's just,
You, even though they're an agent, you're like, I could
yeah,
probably sell your home because
yes,
they're doing stuff.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. So you just bought in and said, hey, this is how we get business.
yeah, it's the job.
Yeah. And so I think one of the interesting things is, even though you were the beginning process, there is no possible way that you would still be around if you weren't generating leads. Like your entire
Mm-hmm.
job wasn't generate a lead, go get a listing, go get a reduction, go get a contract, negotiate. It was just generating.
Yeah.
So you were good at it. You are
Mm-hmm.
good at it. All right. What are some of the challenges then, as you've looked back? What are some of the challenges
I
that
think
people go through?
the biggest challenge in this is just the monotony that you got to deal with, and having the people hang up on you, and having the people say, F you, don't call me again.
Mm-hmm.
And not taking that personal. Just moving on and calling the next person and being as cheerful as you can to the next person.
Yeah.
See,
So how do you do that?
It doesn't bother me. It's just part of the game.
Yeah. You just decided that, the switch is going to be that, hey, this isn't personal. I don't know
Yeah.
them. They don't know me.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so have you had scenarios where you literally call somebody and they hang up on you, or they curse you out, and then all of a sudden, either the next call or very soon after that, somebody is just, they're just the nicest person in the world, or maybe you generate a lead, like almost back to back?
Yeah, I've had that happen. Yes, I thought it was funny. One of the listings I have now, I don't know where it was as far as when I got the listing in my timeline, but he's actually someone who hung up on me and said, F you, I'm not listing it.
Yeah.
I texted him later on that day, or I emailed him, and he actually called me back, and I have him listed. We've had 25 showings on his property. I think we're going to get it sold.
Yeah.
He's actually a guy who hung up on me, who cursed me out, said he's never going to list with me. And
Yeah.
he doesn't realize that I'm the guy he actually hung up on.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. That's great. And so the lesson in that for newer people is that, listen, it doesn't, like, those things don't matter. Like, there is no correlation between you call somebody today and they hang up on you, could be the person that you turn around and list next week, or later on today. It's a response. Don't make it mean anything more than you already, than it does. It is what it is, and move on to the next call.
It's just part of his smoke screen is what it's part of his smoke screen, because he's probably gotten 15 calls in the morning. The guy's upset. His blood pressure's high.
Yep.
And I just happen to be the one that sent him over the top.
Yeah.
I still got him listed.
Yeah. And the reality is, if we can't control it, then don't let it control you with how it, you respond for the rest of the day. So, what advice? So let's put you in the mind of a brand new person that's coming in, and they're like, okay, I buy in, I see the results that people get. What advice would you have for, say, a new licensee, or somebody that's transferring in and knows that they want to start generating some leads on their own? What advice would you have for them?
I think you have to learn the scripts. You have to have them internalized. Obviously, you're not going to say the actual script on the phone eventually, but you have to know it, because you have to know where the script is going to, where the conversation is going to go, to be able to know where to take it to be able to get a listing.
Yeah. So how did you go through? I think that's a really good point. How did you go through learning the scripts? Do you remember? I mean, because obviously they're deep internalizing you now. But
yeah, I could say this. Yeah, I know it inside, but it's you just learn the conversation, and as it goes, you see where different objection handlers took you, and where you handled it and where that led you, and you pretty much just learned the correct road to take eventually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think the one thing that we always talk about with agents that are getting into this business is you have the reps behind you. So there's going to be you've probably had just about every response to every one of the questions that you could ever ask.
Yes.
And in the beginning, you probably screwed a lot of them up, and then you went
I'm sure I did.
some help, or you're like, well, that didn't work. Let me try something else. So
exactly,
the repetition is the key, because that's where you learn the conversation. But as you said earlier, the repetition is also the challenge that you have to overcome. But that's just what you have to do.
Yes.
So the lead generation is going to require you to overcome that, and the reps are gonna allow you to actually find some success in the job. So. Great information, John. I appreciate you hopping on and sharing this stuff. And I know you've got an awesome future. Now that you've transitioned to being a full-time agent.
It's not as scary as I thought it was going to be. It was actually very easy.
Yeah, and you did the hardest part.
Yeah,
you became an expert at the hardest part. So awesome. I appreciate it, John.
Yep. Thank you.